Hey guys, welcome back to Music Talk with John. Today I am doing a thing that I was inspired to do from Dylan at Noble Records. He did a chain of, I think he did 20 albums, and each one led into the other. Like, I had this album and this person played on this album. They also played on this album, so you bring up another album, and then, somebody on that album played on another album. So you go until you can connect them. So I think I ended up with 22 because I was having a little bit of fun. I was going to stop at 20. I was really ambitious in the beginning. I was going to go to 100, and that was hard to do, especially if I'm keeping within what I own, and that really limits you, obviously. So I try to keep it to vinyl, but there are a few CDs that I'm going to show you. The 100 was hard. I was getting there, and then I'm going to have this album, so it was this whole thing. Maybe I'll do 100 later. I got it a good solid 22, so I want to go ahead and show you what I did. This is kind of a neat thing, so if anybody else has done it or plans to do it, leave it in the comment. I'd like to check out your video. Got some notes here just to keep everything in order. And so the first one I'm going to show you is, we are starting off with Cyndi Lauper. And you're probably going, what? What does Cyndi Lauper have to do with anything, and who could she be linked to, right? Well, it's very interesting. So Cyndi Lauper was also actually she was pretty supportive of Billy Joel. He was putting together the bridge. He kind of, from what I understand, he went through a kind of just a fog. He was in a funk a little bit while making the album. And he was working on, I think he was already starting with the song Code of Silence. And Cyndi came in, I guess she was recording in the same place or whatever. She came in and was trying to really inspire him. There's a cool YouTube video of him talking about it. So she ended up on the song Code of Silence off of The Bridge. And you can't talk about it, and this is not a kind of madness. I think this was like 1986, somewhere on there. It's Billy in the 80s, but I still like this album. It's kind of a mix mash of things. You go from like like an R&B or a standard like Baby Grand, then you go into Big Man on Mulberry Street, which is like big band music, and then you go into pop rock. So it's kind of all over the place. But I love the album still. I'm a big Billy fan anyway. So on this album, you have Ray Charles, who played on Baby Grand. No one's gonna play this on the radio. I don't believe it. With Ray Charles in mind, Ray obviously played on this album, Genius Loves Company. Really good album. This one, I can't remember if this was, I think this was a record store day release or a Black Friday deal. And I had some issues with the first one, but this one I believe came out pretty good as far as the sound and everything. So good copy of this. So he's got a ton of people on here, but the person I'm going to focus in on is actually Elton John. Elton John played, let's see, sorry seems to be the hardest word with Ray on this album. What have I gotta do to make you love me? If you haven't heard this album, check it out. It's a really, really cool album. I think it was the last one that he did before he passed away. So you have Elton John, who obviously is on his album, The One. And this is a early 90s, like 90 or so. And it's Elton back in form. Yes, it's a very, I don't want to say dated because it's in the 90s, still has a little bit of an 80s feel, atmospheric. But he had like Clapton on here, and the songs were good. Had the one which played like crazy, but Runaway Train is the one he did with Clapton. I really like that song. But there is a song on here. Which one was it? I think it's When a Woman Doesn't Want You. And it's David Gilmour. So David Gilmour is on this album. So when you have David Gilmour, obviously, who do you think of? Well, obviously, you've got Gilmour on the Pink Floyd The Wall. So there's an Elton John to The Wall connection. How about that? not much I need to tell you about this, right? It's The Wall. I mean, it's the album, concept album, great. I love it from beginning to end. I know a lot of people think it should end at a certain point before it gets to the trial and all that stuff, but I don't think so. I like it all the way through. So there you go. So obviously on this you have Roger Waters.
Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb?
So Roger Waters has a solo album. Obviously he plays on this, right? So and usually Roger has some form of a well-known guitarist that plays on his albums. Used to Death, I think, had Jeff Beck all over it. This one just happened to have Eric Clapton all over it. Who was actually on the other one, right? The Clapton's on this one too. So, but that's not what we're linking it to. So with Eric Clapton playing on this throughout Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, we go to, and I don't have an album for this, and I've come across 3 copies of the album of this, and I just can't find a good one without a lot of pops and all that stuff. So, all right, so from this you have, like I said, Eric Clapton. So, Eric Clapton was on this album with B.B. King, the man, right? So, Riding with the Queen. It's late. It's 11:30, guys. Forgive me. So Riding with the King, good blues, solid blues album. It's a thing that they wanted to do together for a long time, and they finally got together to do it.
I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you.
It's a good, solid album, you know, modern production, but 2 good guitar players, and it's fun to see what they did on this. So it's an album I enjoy. So on this album, you have, okay, Riding with the King, and obviously you have B.B. King, right? So I went right over to B.B. King, Indianola, Mississippi Seeds. I've been looking for this for a while, and finally Friday Music put a copy out, and I got a reissue of it. Great album, good, solid blues album. Always like the front cover of it. Sorry, I kept these on, but there you go. It's a cool picture. And then they totally demolish it at the end. So on this album, you have many guest stars, but the one I'm focusing on here is Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh plays guitar on this album. So obviously, when you go Joe Walsh, you could go a couple different ways, right? James Gang, you could go to his solo career, or you can go to, you know, where he popped in with the Eagles and really brought the Eagles alive for me. The Eagles were okay before that. Easy Eagles fans, I'm not saying they suck. I'm just saying this is the album I love by the Eagles. I think it's solid from beginning to end. Joe Walsh just brought something to this album and made him like a pure rock band.
Hi there, how are ya? It's been a long time.
So anyway, so on this you have Glenn Fry and different people, and you have Don Henley, right? So we can do, well, you can't do really much from the Eagles to Don Henley, right? It's just pretty much Don Henley, and then he had his solo stuff. But an album that I really enjoy from beginning to end, I think maybe Shangri-La, a little 10 God, or a little weak on here. But for the most part, and If Dirt Were Dollars, there's a couple little maybe fillers, not as, because there's such strong material on here, like The End of the Innocence, Last Worthless Evening, New York Minute, The Heart of the Matter. I mean, really good, strong songs. So if a song's not up to par, it really sticks out next to those kind of songs. But anyway, you have Don Henley with this one, The End of the Innocence. And my link on this one is Mike Campbell. So Mike Campbell, did he write? Oh, he wrote, I always think it's on this album, but Mike Campbell wrote, what is it? Saw a Deadhead Sticker on a Cadillac. The Boys of Summer. Mike Campbell wrote that. So there's some heartbreakers on this album with Don Henley. But you have Mike Campbell, and when you think of Mike Campbell, you could go, okay, he's worked with a lot of people, but who did he work with the most? You know, you have to do it. And I got to show this album because I love it. One of Tom Petty's strongest albums right here, Southern Accents. Don't Come Around Here No More. Kicks off with the song Rebels. I love that song. Just a great song or album. Not one song on here I could say is bad. Some people give Spike a hard time, but I enjoy Spike.
got another one, just like the other ones. Another badass, another troublemaker. I'm scared, ain't you boys scared?
But just a really good album. And so with this one, you have, you know, Tom Petty, obviously. So Mike Campbell was linked to this, now Tom Petty. So Tom Petty also worked with other people. And one of the famous collaborations that he did, and a very popular song, was off of this, off of Belladonna.
Stop dragging my heart around.
Stevie Nicks' classic album. This is the Record Store Day version. Came out last year, I believe, and had the second album with extras, and it's just great. I kind of regret not getting the live Belladonna now for Record Store Day, and that was a surprise sleeper, I guess. A lot of people didn't think about it, but a lot of people wanted it, and I should have grabbed that just to make it kind of complete. I don't know. I just feel like I should have gotten it, but I think it's going to be released again. I don't know if it was an exclusive. But anyway, so you have on this one Stevie Nicks, obviously, who's the star of this. So if I take Stevie Nicks and I move her over, can't find this on album, but this is Sheryl Crow and Friends in Central Park. And you have some guest appearances on here, and Stevie Nicks comes on here and does, well, the Gold Dust Woman's on here, so I'm assuming she's on that track. I haven't listened to it in a while.
Crack on, Gold Dust Woman, take your silver spoon.
You also have Keith Richards on here, and I believe he does Happy, the Rolling Stones song Happy, with Cheryl on this. So you take Keith and go, okay, well, Keith, what do we do with Keith? He has solo stuff. I guess he's appeared on other albums. But who's the band? You know, what's the band he's always with? Boom. Rolling Stones, one of their classic albums, Exile on Main Street. Some people love this album. Some people could do without it. But actually, Happy is on here, so there's another link right there. So you have Keith Richards on here with, you know, Mick and all those guys. Exile Main Street, but you also have Mick Taylor, who played guitar on this album. Well, Mick Taylor also played guitar on a Dylan album, which is Infidels. And I don't remember what year this one was, but one of my favorite Bob Dylan albums. I don't think Lanois did this one. I think he did Oh Mercy. But this has Joker Man on it.
Joker man dance to the nightingale tune.
Don't Fall Apart on Me Tonight, I is on here. So just a really good, solid album. So if you take this, and like I said, we had Mick Taylor was the link to this, but and then I think Mick Taylor, yeah, he played guitar on this, but then you also had Mark Knopfler, who was on this album, and he played guitar, and I think he did some, I don't know if he was a co-producer, but he did some production on this. I don't know if he produced it all outright or not. So you have Mark Knopfler, and that leads me into, I'm trying to find this also on album, but All the Road Running, the album that he did with Emmylou Harris, just freaking great album. If you haven't heard this, check it out. Especially like Dug Up a Diamond.
I dug up a diamond, rare and fine.
This Is Us. Those are really good. And If This Is Goodbye, just really nice song. But I do have sort of an album version of it here, where they did it live, and it was taken from a radio appearance, and they put it on album, and it sounds really good as far as I'm concerned. It's nice. And so there you have that. So what do you have on here with Mark? You have Emmylou, right? So Emmylou, she had a solo career, but she did a lot of backup vocals for people throughout the years, including this guy right here, Neil Young. So Emmylou sang backup on a couple of these songs on American Stars and Bars.
They're only passing through you in the end.
And this one had, I think, like a Hurricane is on this. You always love the back cover where they're just wasted at the bar, and Neil's got his face squished against the floor. So Emmylou's on this, and you obviously have Neil on that. So he's doing vocals and guitar on multi-instruments on that album. But Neil also is with who? Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. There you go. Deja Vu.
There is a town in North Ontario.
He only did 2-3 albums with them, I believe. And So then you can pick a couple different people in here, right? But who I picked for, Deja Vu, obviously. Do I need to tell you the songs on Deja Vu? Okay, if you haven't heard Deja Vu, just go get it and play it. But surprisingly enough, I don't know if people know or not, probably Glenn Kellaway knows, but Jerry Garcia played steel guitar on this album. So he made a guest appearance. So you have Jerry Garcia, who also did the same thing, played pedal steel guitar on a Graham Nash solo album. And this is Songs for Beginners. What were the hits on this? Oh, Military Madness. Oh, Chicago's on this.
Won't you please come to Chicago just to sing?
So you have Jerry Garcia playing steel slide guitar on this, but you also have Dave Mason on this album playing guitar. So Dave Mason also played guitar and did some backup vocals on Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland. Electric Ladyland's on here, Voodoo Child, and Burning of the Midnight Lamp, All Along the Watchtower's on here, and then Voodoo Child's Slight Return. Just a great, great album. Who do we have on here? Well, Steve Winwood played the Hammond organ on this.
Way down in Arizona,
And he also played, he was at other bands, right? Traffic, and had a solo career, but he was also on this album. So what's the best way to show you? It's the Blind Faith album. I know some people show the full covers, but I don't. So this is I believe this is how it was released in England, and it was like going to be a no-go in the States because you have like a naked adolescent on the album. This is a good recording of the album. It's the Abbey Road's version of it, and it's done with half-speed mastering. But the American release of this was this right here. So that's how it came out in America. But I mean, every song, Had to Cry Today, Can't Find My Way Home, Well Alright, the Buddy Holly song, Presence of the Lord, Sea of Joy, and the killer 15-minute version, Do What You Like. Just fun song. Great. Just fun. So, great album. So that's number 21. Sorry, I hadn't even been doing the countdown, but that's just getting into the linking. So here's number 22. So off of that, you have Rick Gresh playing bass, and also he played bass with Clapton when he was making his comeback. I have two versions of this, and this is another one I've had copies of, and I got rid of them because they didn't sound great. So this is how the Rainbow Concert came out, and then they did it like a remaster, and they shortened some songs and did some weird stuff with it. So not really sure why. I mean, they added songs, but then they shortened some songs, so it was strange. But anyway, Rainbow Concert, and he had like Pete Townsend trying to get Clapton back into the flow after being whacked out on heroin for a year. But it has Badge, Presence of the Lord, Pearly Queen, After Midnight, Little Wing, and then the other one brought in extra songs, and they put in like Bell Bottom Blues and things like that. But cool thing there. So just now that I did this, I'm like, I should do it a little bit, make it a little bit tougher on myself. So I might do that. But I had fun doing this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've done these videos, let me know in the comments if you like this kind of thing. I'll do it again, because there's got to be ways of linking other things. Just have to think about it a little bit. But anyway, that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, Dylan, for bringing this thing to light. And I would have never thought of doing this. So I'm glad you did. I had fun doing it. So anyway, you guys, hope you enjoy your music. And you take care out there, all right? Bye.